Hello everyone, welcome to the answer writing program. So today we will be discussing 3 questions from GS1 Geography and the topic is climatology. Let's take an overview of all the 3 questions. So the very first question is related to tropical cyclones. Second question is related to jet streams and their role in the Indian monsoon. And the third question is related to cryosphere. So let's start our discussion with the very first question. So the first question says that how are tropical cyclones formed? So this is the demand 1 of the question. Explain the weather conditions associated with them. So this is the second question, demand 2. So in introduction, you can start directly with the tropical cyclones, the definition, some conditions with respect to tropical cyclone in their formation. Then you can continue with the mechanism or the process of how these tropical cyclones are formed. Or you can start with some data that in the recent time, some cyclone that has hit India, you can start with that data also. Okay, so let's start our discussion. Now, what is tropical cyclone? So tropical cyclone is a low pressure system. It is a warm or the hot low pressure system on which air from the nearby region converges. Then in the northern hemisphere, it starts rotating in the anti-clockwise direction. So for this, there are certain conditions like the requirement of the Coriolis force. So the strong Coriolis force is required. So that is why the tropical cyclones are not formed nearby equator within 4 to 5 degrees. Then comes that there is a weak low pressure system. We require the already existing low pressure system so that nearby air starts converging on that low pressure system. Then we require low pressure on the surface and the diverging, or you can say the high pressure aloft. So that is why it starts sustaining this system. Then it also requires consistent source of heating, and it is the latent heat of condensation that drives this system. So this system always present on the waters, and when they hit the land, they die off. Next is about, because tropical cyclone, in the name itself, these are in the region of the tropics, around from equator to 30 degrees approximately. So these regions in both the hemisphere are under the influence of the trade winds. So if the trade winds are flowing in this particular region, it means from east to west. It means in eastern waters there are always offshore winds. It means the cold upwelling current would be there. So that is why these eastern waters are not sufficient. These eastern water does not provide sufficient or the necessity condition for the tropical cyclones to be formed. That is why tropical cyclone does not form in the eastern waters due to the cold upwelling currents. Okay, due to this offshore trade winds. So these are some description and these are some requirements, or you can say the conditions that are required for the formation of the tropical cyclones. So next comes the structure of tropical cyclone. How this tropical cyclone moves, what is the structure? So this tropical cyclone structure is anvil shaped. It means like this, the shoe anvil shaped. Okay, now let's understand how the tropical cyclones structure appropriately. So this is the structure of tropical cyclone. This is the region I. in this somewhat very low diverging wind, very few diverging wind, very few variable diverging winds are there. Otherwise, this is the area, this I is the area or the region of calm place. No uprising of wind, etc. Now, next come this point and this. These are eye wall. So these are the areas of the maximum destruction. As we have seen that in the northern hemisphere, it rotates in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so this is eye wall and the area of the maximum destruction. Then comes the inner zone. Inner zone, all the air are rising up. So these inner zone is the area of hailstorms, high wind speeds, dark sky, etc. Next comes the region of downdraft. It means some of the air is subsiding in this particular region. Then comes the area of the outer or peripheral region. Again, the areas where or the regions from where the air is rising up and is helping in sustaining this system of tropical cyclone. Okay, so this is the structure of the tropical cyclone. This is the area, this is the eye, this is the area of the eye wall, this is the inner zone, this is downdraft, this is outer or the peripheral region. Now let's see the region why I said that eye wall is the area of the maximum destruction. Let's see, this is eye and this area, this eye wall is moving like this. This is eye wall. It means this area is moving like this in anti-clockwise direction in northern hemisphere. Now let's suppose that a human being is standing over here. Let's suppose this human being or one person is standing over here and this tropical cyclone rotating in the anti-clockwise direction is moving like this. So the person who is standing over here and the rotating system, it is moving like this in the anti-clockwise direction. First, this human being will encounter this area, then this area, then this area, then finally this area. It means a person standing over here is facing the tropical cyclone coming nearby him. It sees that first the dark cloudy sky comes nearby, with then following by the rainfall, then following by the hailstorm. Finally, when it encounters this eye wall, let's see the scenario exactly. See, this is the person, it is encountering the eye wall. Now, next is this thing, that it is coming under the influence of first eye wall. It means the air or the wind speed is hitting this person from this particular direction at first instant and with the very high speed, because this is the zone of the maximum destruction. Then it passes by. Now it is like this. Now the person has entered the eye, again the calm condition, so it is ready that okay, winds will hit from me, maybe trees can fall from this particular side. So I'll be aware ki okay, that trees can fall on me from this particular side. So he is prepared for that. But next, this tropical cyclone is moving. Now the person has entered into this eye. Again the calm conditions. So next is this person is standing over here and now the winds are, earlier the person is hitting from here, now the person is getting hit from backside. Maybe trees can fall from the backside. So again the winds are coming with the high speeds from this particular side and hitting the person. So this is the area of the eye wall. Okay, now you understood everything related to the tropical cyclone. Let's coming on to the body part. we have already discussed everything. This is written in very briefly. We have discussed in too detail that there are the three stages: incipient stage, mature stage, and the dissipation stage. Incipient stage means the low pressure has just started to develop, always in waters in the late summers. So the temperature, the water gets the heat from the sun. Then central low pressure is forming, but still it is not strongest. Then coming on to the mature stage, when the central pressure fall, means the low pressure is maximum. Then winds have acquired the maximum speed. Then dissipation stage, when the cyclone weakens up and dies when it hits the land and the moisture supply is cut off. Then weather conditions, we have already seen that winds, rains and storm surges can be there. You can give example related to the different cyclones, Cyclone Titli, Cyclone Fani and Cyclone Amphan, and how they have the different speeds, different intensity, different destruction stages. Okay, so this way we have already discussed that how the wind speed is maximum in what area, there are the different regions, there are the different structures of, there are the different parts of the structure of the tropical cyclone. Coming on to the conclusion, you can write about the impact. Now, the cyclone is again the disaster. So, you can link any of the disaster with respect to the climate change. That with the climate change and global warming, their intensity, their frequency is increasing across the world, causing the heavy loss of life and property. Okay. So, this was the first answer. Moving on to the model answer, starting with the definition, then how it gets formed with one diagram, then mature stage, modification and decay, etc. Then different weather phenomena and conclusion. Let's move on to the second question. Explain the impact of various jet streams on the Indian monsoon. So we need to write down the role, or you can say the impact of the jet streams on the Indian monsoon. Now for this you must understand what are jet streams, what is Indian monsoon. First understand what is Indian monsoon. Now we have already seen that India somewhere lies over here and this is under the influence of trade winds and trade winds from this direction also. So, the Indian monsoon are the modified trade winds. Due to the apparent shifting of ITCZ approximately to 30 degrees in the summers, so these trade winds rather merging over here, they start flowing, passing the equator and starts going till ITCZ. Let's see. So this trade wind over here, they shifted upwards and this trade winds goes like this. Why they are rotating like this? Because earlier they were moving till here, till equator like this, and in northern hemisphere we know that there is a Coriolis force and it tilts the winds towards the right side. So that is why they are modifying itself by taking the different directions in the rightwards. So that is why these are the modified trade winds and these are only the monsoon winds. Now let's see India. So these are the monsoon winds like this. So one goes like this, and finally after hitting the Arakan Yoma from Myanmar, they move like this. They go like in northeastern region and following the path of Ganga plains over here. But the direction, majorly the direction is this only, this. These are the southwest monsoon winds. Now we need to understand that how different, there are multiple jet streams. So how those jet streams impact these trade winds, these modified trade winds, or we can say the southwestern monsoon winds. Okay. So this was Indian monsoon. Now let's coming on to the jet streams. Now we know that in the upper troposphere, all the winds are flowing in the westwards direction. All the winds are westerlies. And we also know that there is a Hadley cell, there is a Ferrel cell, and there is a polar cell. And because here the temperature is maximum in contrast, it means there is a maximum temperature difference. So the westerlies that are flowing over here will have the maximum speed due to the maximum temperature difference, due to the maximum pressure gradients. So these winds attain the maximum speeds over here. That is why we say these are jet streams. So the jet streams are the narrow bands. They move swiftly embedded in the westerlies that flows aloft. Okay. So these are the jet streams. Now we should understand that jet streams are of two types. Permanent jet streams, that we have seen that there are the two major temperature difference regions. So subtropical westerly jet stream that flows over here between Hadley cell and Ferrel cell, and one is polar jet stream that flows in the over here between the Ferrel cell and the polar cell. Now the second category is seasonal jet streams, or you can say temporary jet streams. In this we have the different types of the jet stream, that is Somali jet stream, tropical easterly jet stream, and others. Okay, so now for our concern, we are concerned with subtropical westerly jet stream and Somali jet stream and tropical easterly jet stream. These are the jet streams that impacts Indian monsoon. Okay. So we will see in detail what are the role of subtropical westerly jet stream that flows over here. Tropical easterly jet stream, we will see where it forms, and Somali jet stream where it forms and how it impacts the Indian monsoon. Okay, now moving on to this particular concept one by one. Now let's see the role of subtropical westerly jet stream in the Indian monsoon. Now we know that this is Kunlun Shan, these are Himalayas, and this is Tibetan Plateau. Now subtropical westerly jet stream flows like this, subtropical westerly jet stream. But in winters, one branch comes over here. Winters, subtropical westerly jet stream, one branch comes over the Ganga plains, like till December to March. According to system, if we see that sun is over here, earth, like this. So till March, June, we can say December, like this. So till December to March, this subtropical westerly jet stream, one northern branch is over the Ganga plains. Now with time, as we have seen that the Indian monsoon, how it impacts is, how it causes is due to the shifting, due to the apparent shifting of sun, due to the apparent shifting of ITCZ in the northern hemisphere, this wind starts moving like this, starts merging over ITCZ. It means after March, sun starts its northern northwards direction. It means ITCZ also starts shifting up. Over here it is on equator, and till June it is exactly on the Tropic of Cancer. So this is the background for our understanding that how the ITCZ is getting shifted. So what I am saying is WJ, subtropical westerly jet stream, it is there till March in the Ganga plains in winters. But even the ITCZ starts shifting up in the northward direction. Still, after March, we cannot see that these subtropical westerly jet stream passes the equator. No, we do not see that. And this ITCZ, even in the late April or the mid-May, even if ITCZ is shifting northwards and there is a proper or sufficient heat to take place, this trade winds to get merged on ITCZ, but still it does not take place. The reason is this: STWJ, because this STWJ, this creates the high pressure in this Tibetan plateau. So it is subduing the winds over there. So it means it is creating the high pressure in this particular region, and it is suppressing those winds to get rising up. So only after the withdrawal of subtropical westerly jet stream, only the wind starts converging over here and starts rising up. But due to the presence of subtropical westerly jet stream, it is suppressing the winds to rise. Okay, so this is India, and this subtropical westerly jet stream is over here. Although the ITCZ can be shifting like this in the summers, but because this is creating the high pressure, it is not allowing the conditions to converge the air like this. No, it is not creating the conducive situations like that, but rather it is suppressing, it is creating this scenario. So that is why even if the summers are approaching, the heats are maximum, but there is no monsoon due to the presence of subtropical westerly jet stream. Only after its withdrawal, because of the intense heating due to the intense shifting of ITCZ in the northernwards direction in the late summers, only then STWJ shifts here. Now there is no northern branch of STWJ. So let's see the next scenario. This is the case of STWJ. Only after its withdrawal from here, it goes like this. It goes like this. This is Tibetan plateau. This is Ganga. Now on the Ganga plains, ITCZ is shifted. Now only after its withdrawal, the first southwest monsoon winds start hitting this Malabar coast. Now this is known as monsoon burst. So the role of STWJ is that only after its withdrawal there is a monsoon burst. First thing. Moving on to the easterly jet stream and Somali jet stream. Let's see tropical easterly jet stream, the role of tropical easterly jet stream in Indian monsoon. Now this is Tibet. Now STWJ has already shifted up. Now there is no role of STWJ till now. Now the monsoon winds ITCZ is over Ganga plains. Now the monsoon winds or the southwest trade winds have bursted over here, and they are started going like this to merge over here. They are moving like this. Now, how they are moving like this, we need to understand the role of TEJ in that. Okay. This is the direction of Indian monsoon, what we have seen over here. Now, let's understand that how TEJ plays a role. Now, this is India. This is Tibet. This is Africa. This is the Madagascar. And this is somewhere in the right side of the Madagascar or the east of the Madagascar, there is a mascarene high pressure generated over here. And due to the intense heating in the summer, this Tibet plateau, due to its vast area, this attains the low pressure. Low pressure means the air is rising up. And here the mascarene high is there, it means air is subsiding over here. Now, this rising air from the Tibetan plateau completes the cell by going like this. This is rising of the air from Tibetan plateau. It moves aloft in the tropical easterly jet stream. So these are the winds that are above the surface, that are in the jet stream. So from Tibetan plateau to the mascarene high, there is a tropical easterly jet stream. Now, as much as the low pressure is there, means the high, very intense low pressure is there, very intense mascarene high pressure is there. So this cell would be high, this cell would be strong. These are the surface winds that moves on the surface. So how this cell is getting completed? Tibetan Plateau, air is rising, air is subsiding in the masculine high, and the surface winds are flowing in this particular direction. So these are the southwest monsoon winds, and these intensifies the southwest monsoon winds. So the good low pressure at the Tibetan Plateau, the good masculine high pressure at this particular location, the strong TEJ is, the stronger would be the southwest monsoon winds way. So this is the role of TEJ. Now moving on to the role of Somali jet stream. Now only in the summers, only in the rainy season, Somali jet stream, and it is a very low flowing jet stream, only about 1.5 kilometers above the surface, and temporary jet stream, it only starts moving in the monsoons and the summers. So what happens is, the jet stream, this starts flowing like this over here. It energizes the Somali current, Somali ocean current. It flows like this in this particular direction. It encounters Ethiopian island over here, Ethiopian highlands over here. So one branch of this Somali jet stream goes like this, and one jet stream goes like this. So again, this intensifies the southwest monsoon trade winds. So these are the three roles of the subtropical westerly jet stream, easterly jet stream, and the Somali jet stream. So this was our answer. Moving on to the conclusion, you can write the role of climate change on the jet streams. Again, you can link the natural phenomena in geography, especially with respect to the climate change. That climate change is causing the jet streams to become more erratic, more intense. As the planet warms, the atmosphere is becoming more unstable, leading to the faster and more intense jet stream. And these jet streams, as we have already discussed, that has the huge impact on the Indian monsoon. So any changes in these jet streams due to climate change and the global warming can impact Indian monsoon. And India, being the agrarian or the agricultural society, has a huge impact if there is any variations in the rainfall pattern due to the climate change or due to the impact of the different jet streams. So this way you can write about the impact of the climate change on jet streams. Okay. Now moving on to the model answer, starting with the definition of the jet streams. Then this is the additional information provided for you so that you can use it wherever your convenience is. And this is a role of easterly jet stream, role of Somali jet stream. And I have explicitly discussed one more jet streams behavior or the role, that is subtropical westerly jet stream. Finally concluding our answer. Now moving on to the third question. With the recent pace and the style of development, the cryosphere is facing an existential crisis. So the question is related to cryosphere. So in this slide, we need to discuss the various threats faced by cryosphere and also suggest the possible solutions. So we need to write down the threats. So this is demand 1, and we need to write down about the possible solutions. So this is demand 2. Okay. So let's start with the introduction. In introduction, you can write about the definition of cryosphere. You can also write about the IPCC observations over here. Let's see how. That the cryosphere refers to the region on the earth where the water freezes into snow or ice, like glaciers, sea ice, etc. So the IPCC has observed that there has been a continued net loss of ice from the cryosphere. According to the State of Cryosphere 2023 report, nearly all the tropical glaciers, most mid-latitude glaciers, and the polar regions will disappear even if the world tries to manage to increase the temperature below 2 degrees centigrades above the pre-industrial area. So there is a huge destruction going on due to the loss of this cryosphere, due to the climate change, due to some anthropogenic activities. Moving on to the first demand of the question, we need to write down about the various threats. So you can write about the ice sheet collapse, melting glaciers, thinning sea ice, then permafrost thaw, then gloves, then zombie ice phenomena. You can give some examples with respect to that also. like ice sheet collapse. Like the retreating of the Siachen glacier poses security challenges, water scarcity risk. Melting glaciers like Himalayan glaciers are receding or retreating rapidly, impacting water resources for the millions. You can give example of the Gangotri glacier, then thinning ice, sea ice. Like Arctic sea ice loss affects marine ecosystem and indigenous communities like Chukchi Sea in Russia. Then permafrost thawing. Permafrost in Ladakh leads to infrastructure instability and landslides. Then glacier lakes outburst floods. Then zombie ice phenomena. What is this zombie ice? It is the dead or the doomed ice that is not thickening, that is attached to the thicker layer of ice and is no longer getting replenished by the parent glaciers. So again, these are some threats that have been faced by the cryosphere. Then the solutions. Solutions, you can write about mitigating, adaptation, governmental policies at the various different dimensions. You can write some solutions. But before than that, we need to understand that our primary goal is to limit the global warming below 2 degrees Celsius from the pre-industrial area. So for that, what we need to do is renewable energy adoption. We are promoting solar and the wind energy to reduce our reliance on the fossil fuels like solar farms in Ladakh. Then sustainable tourism practices like eco-tourism in Himachal Pradesh. Then climate resilient infrastructure so that we can withstand gloves and the permafrost thaw, like bridge construction in Arunachal Pradesh. Then we can say about the afforestation initiatives, then community engagement. So these 2 points are very important. These are initiatives. These are the role of people's participation, people's engagement, community engagement in glacier monitoring and adaptation planning. Then resource mobilization like the governmental policies, that initiatives like ambition on melting ice at COP27 should be adequately backed with the financial commitments. Okay. Now moving on to the conclusion, you can write about the conservation, about how we need to protect the cryosphere, that the protection to the cryosphere is essential in maintaining the stable climate and preserving the delicate balance of the Earth's climatic system. Because the climate change is there, cryosphere is in loss, so we need to balance it out. We need to restrict the anthropogenic activities. We need to fasten up the initiatives or the processes at the policy level, at the governmental level, at the individual level to stop this increase in melting of the cryosphere. So this way our third answer is completed. Now moving on to the model answer, starting with the IPCC observation, the definition of cryosphere, the threats faced and the solutions, finally conclusion. So this was it from my side for today. Thank you and have a nice day and keep writing.